If you clicked on this video, you probably have a really good web app idea, but have no way to implement it. And after doing some research and starting this on my own, I can tell you that it's not that difficult. My name is Anthony, and I'm a Microsoft engineer building their first web app from scratch. And here's what I can tell you. Just start. When building an app, you're going to need to understand that there's 3 questions that need to be answered. The first question is, what is the problem that you're solving? If your web app doesn't have a problem to solve, then what's the point of building it? No one's going to pay money for it. No one's going to find it useful other than maybe for yourself learning. But other than that, you don't want to waste your time. Secondly, how are you going to deliver that value to answer that question? My specific problem is home ownership. A lot of people own homes, but there's a lot of people that don't know how to maintain their homes. So I'm building an app to do just that. Lastly, how are you going to market it and sell it to your customers? If you're building a web app for your personal enjoyment and whatnot, that is perfectly fine. But the premise of this video is showing how to kind of go through the steps of building a web app, connect to a database, and profiting off of it. So let's get started with that. Now, what I'm showing to you here is Vercel. You might be asking yourself, you work at Microsoft, why aren't you using Azure to host your web app? And the answer is pretty simple. When you're bringing up an idea, you want the path of least resistance for all of that. If I was to deploy to Azure or AWS, I'd have to deploy all these other components, create infrastructure as code to make it automated, and my work loop would be way harder. With Vercel, you have production environment, you have a dev environment. When you're coding on your IDE on your local machine, if you make a push to your Git repository, it will automatically build that in the dev environment so I can see it live on the site. With Azure or AWS, it makes it so much more difficult to do that. So as you can see here, this is an empty website, nothing special here. It's literally just bare bones. And that's because I don't know Next.js. Vercel created Next.js and used React for that. So that's kind of where I'm at currently. But I can still do a lot of things at this point to progress my idea forward. If you don't know Next.js, that's perfectly fine. Their website has a bunch of learning modules that have enabled me and I bet a bunch of other people to actually learn the framework that's built off of React. Now, with this information, you kind of have everything you need to get started with your application. You have the infrastructure that you're going to be deploying on. You have the framework that you're going to be needing to actually build it on. Now, lastly, what type of database do you want to hold your users in? Now, Supabase is what I'm going to be choosing as it is super easy to integrate with your Vercel deployment. All you have to do is go to the marketplace, the integrations, install it, and then you have to create your new Supabase account. Or if you already have one, you can just do that. Accept and create. And you can choose your free plan because right now we're not going to be servicing any users. If we do get, users, if we're privileged enough to have users, we can then upgrade to specific plans. But for right now, we're doing the free one. And we're going to name this the Homeowner Helper DB. Perfect. So we have a Supabase database, we can create it successfully. And now we have this. So when we go to building our application, we now can reference this in our project and go from there. So we want to connect this project, we want all the environments, and we're going to connect this. And now it's connected to our project. So now when we go to test any specific, user creation or stuff like that, we now have this in our back pocket to integrate from the start rather than later. So now that you have the database and infrastructure, there's also another thing you have to think about, and that's features. What is the app going to actually do? And if you don't have these ideas, there's some ways you can kind of brainstorm to implement these things. For example, I asked ChatGPT of the app that I'm trying to build, and I had a few ideas, but I wanted to extrapolate on that. And right here, it's giving me a bunch of features that I can give myself to implement in this app. Home maintenance, expense and budget tracking. I didn't even think of, the value of that house depending on Zillow and Redfin. A lot of other things that I could really leverage to make this app more valuable and more intriguing to the customer. So now that you have all this stuff down when it comes to the infrastructure, the database, the features, how you're going to learn all that stuff, you should be all set to have the confidence to go out and set your idea to life. So if you have any more questions, comment down below and like the video to help with the algorithm and subscribe for more content like this. I'm going to be building up this app to kind of advertise it as well as showcase to you guys that it's possible. So have a good one and hope to see you on the channel more. See you later. Bye.